Hi, my name is Ryan Kellinghaus, and I'm the lead forensic specialist for KNET, pronounced Net. Thank you for joining our family of investigators and helping our subscribing law enforcement agencies process mobile phone digital evidence. We typically work with smaller law enforcement agencies with budgets that don't allow full-time forensic investigators. You've chosen a noble career. The work we do at Net has helped agencies across 42 states prosecute over 11,000 cases just within the last year. First and most importantly, all of our investigative technicians must understand the significance of report writing. At Net, our job is to ensure that forensic evidence is collected using very strict procedures, protocols, and chain of custody that allows a prosecutor to effectively present the evidence we process. A manual examination is only a single component or a spoke of the forensic wheel you will use. These spokes in our wheel are the consistent things we always do, even as phones continue to change, phone features vary, and applications evolve. We are now going to cover those fundamental components or spokes that should always be contained in your reports. Remember, due to the nature of our contract with many prosecutors' offices, we are sometimes called to testify in a court of law and explain our report. NIST, or NIST, is the National Institute of Standards and Technology at the U.S. Department of Commerce, and NET is part of the NIST consortium with our Cooperative Research and Development Agreement. It's essential to our work and important to our mission. Please read the NIST description of the reports that we write. Please make a comment in the chat about two important elements on this slide that stand out to you. Our reports include every step taken, as well as the conclusions reached in an investigation. It's a careful record of actions and observations describing the results of tests we run and evidence we examine, as well as how we draw inferences. Our reports are based on solid documentation, notes, photographs, and tool-generated content. This includes your qualifications and certifications, chain of custody, how evidence was collected, transferred, stored, photographed, and identified. Fair days, permissions, and warrants should be detailed. File systems, call histories, images, video, chat logs, and browser histories that were accessed, as well as SIM card examination, and forensic tools or software that were used must be explained. It's a lot of information, and it's all important. Reports must then be archived and stored in a transferable format with copies and chain of custody reported in detail. We must always document where our initial role began. Often, this is when an agency contacts us to begin a case, but they've already secured the device from a crime scene or taken possession from a suspect. For this reason, NET asks our law enforcement agencies to use one of two processes prior to contacting us for each case. Our crime scene documentation protocol and report and suspect evidence confiscation protocol and report are used by law enforcement agencies at the first point of contact with their officers. The CSID is used in the field at a crime scene, whereas the SEC is more commonly used when a suspect is in custody and a device is confiscated from a person. Then you will use our NET case contact form to document how your initial contact with evidence occurred when a law enforcement agency contacts NET to open a case. The state of a device refers to whether it is powered on or off. Devices that we receive are almost always powered off. However, you must always indicate this when you open a device package. If a device is received in a powered on state, you must immediately contact a supervisor and the sending agency, regardless of whether it is received in a Faraday pouch. If it's received in a Faraday pouch, you must indicate this on your report. Your report will include answers to many questions. In the chat, share an area where you have strong experience. How did you come in contact with the device? What state was it in, on or off? How did you or others interact with the evidence or initial seizure? Were other forms of processing, such as latent print recovery, swabbing for blood, or DNA testing needed? How was it isolated from signals or other forms of contamination? What legal method was used to search the device? What tools, utilities, or methods were employed to extract the stored data? What were the versions of the tools used? What type of data was acquired? You have to explain any reporting issues or anomalies. How did you validate your findings? Did the programs used include hashing the results? What format did you create to compile the report? The software we provide will help you answer and report all of these questions and more. Sometimes devices will need fingerprint recovery, swabbing, or DNA analysis. We do not perform DNA testing, swabbing, or fingerprinting. If it needed to be done, it's usually done by the law enforcement agency before we receive the device. However, it's still very important that you document any such testing in your report and include photos throughout the testing process. If an agency sends a phone that still needs to be swabbed, fingerprinted, or tested for DNA, please consult your supervisor. We have a partner company that specializes in such testing of electronic devices. Chain of custody protocol must be followed, and methods used to ensure electronics are not damaged during DNA testing should be indicated on your report. Lastly, if you receive a device that is indicated to have blood, tissue, or bodily fluid on or in it, again, you must notify your supervisor and use our bloodborne pathogens protocol. Take photos and add those details to your report. Next, I'm going to touch on the strategies and tools that you use. We have an organizational subscription to Celebrite UFED Ultimate, as well as Magnet's Digital Investigation Suite, which will provide you with the tools you need from start to finish. On occasion, there may be a unique device that requires a tool other than Celebrite to access a device. You would simply notify your supervisor, and we will ensure that you have what you need. You will only use your Knet-issued computers for analysis, which will not only ensure security, but also help ensure that the version of Celebrite and Magnet you are using is up to date, and that you are always identifying that version on your reports. This is critical to ensuring a strong case. You will use only Magnet Digital Investigation Suite to manage cases, print summaries, document chain of evidence, and share reports. Use of other forensic case management tools at Knet is strictly prohibited. Validation can be one of the single most important processes you complete and document. Sometimes you may not even be examining a phone, but instead, the evidence you process is a SIM card that was laying at a crime scene. You must pull the file system, locating the ICC ID value, and list it in your report. That same ICC ID value must be validated as the number stamped on the SIM card. Finding values on the outside of the SIM card that don't match the internal numbers would be a very important detail to include in your report for the case. When you are ready to save your final report, there are a number of methods you can use. There are advantages and disadvantages to each. Our standard delivery methods for all customers are PDFs on USB thumb drives. However, it's important that you ask the law enforcement agency or prosecutor which format they prefer and explain the pros and cons. PDFs maintain strong integrity because they're more difficult to edit, and external attachments or hyperlinks can be used easily. Also, zoom-in features work well in a courtroom setting. PDFs are usually easy to open on host machines or within browsers, but you'll need to remind your clients that their machine or machines need to be updated with a PDF viewer so that they don't have any courtroom surprises or difficulties. That concludes your new hire Knet training. Contact your supervisor to schedule your Celebrite UFED Ultimate and Magnet Digital Investigation Suite training today.